What's better than all pumpkin everything? Everything you need on GoPhone from AT&T. It gives you unlimited talk, text, and data usage with the first 1.5 gigabytes at high speed. Plus, it's only $40 a month after a $5 auto refill discount. AT&T, mobilizing your world.
First payment is $45. $5 discount applied to monthly rate plan charge upon enrollment and auto refill. After first 1.5 gigabytes, get data speeds up to 128 kilobytes per second. Additional charges and restrictions apply. See store for details.
Okay, welcome everyone to Conscious Contact Radio. Thank you for listening in and joining in, co-creating this beautiful conversation today with you as we discuss the path of least resistance. My name is Reymond Colson, and I am a ordained minister as well as a Reiki master. And we also have our co-host, my good friend Scott Mendoza, here with us today. Scott, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic, Ray. I'm ready to blast the love and the light.
Right. Again, today we are going to be discussing the path of least resistance and how that works, what that means, and how to follow the path of least resistance, or should I say, be the path of least resistance. So I'll go ahead and jump right into it, and let's talk about what this path of least resistance means for me, what it means to me, and how I best utilize the path of least resistance in my everyday life. So to me, to follow or to be on the path of least resistance is really about allowing what is happening at any given moment in my everyday life allowing that to happen and not trying to forcefully resist anything really that's happening in the moment. I do know that we always have a choice and the free will to really decide and go in the direction of things we prefer. But what it means to resist, or to put up resistance against the path of least resistance, I should say, is about holding these blockages, or you could use holding a grudge, or just not allowing things to unfold as they're happening right in front of you. That would be putting up, a resistance to really what is and what's going on around you, which kind of leads us into, our brains are really only able to see what has happened in the past tense, and not able to really understand why it has happened or how it's happening. We're really only able to perceive what has happened. And I feel like it's really our brains that kind of get in the way of allowing us to be on the path of least resistance. And we start conceptualizing and thinking and putting up walls and fears of things that we think might happen, but we don't know, because it's really just a fear or a worry of something that will kind of unfold in a way that we don't prefer.
Right.
I like to think, and you hear so many people talk about how the universe, at least in my past, I would hear a lot of people talk about the universe kind of is like you're up against the universe. It's almost like a battle. It's almost like you have to fight to win. And in this new day and age, I've come to realization that that's not necessarily true. The universe is really trying to work with us and trying to give us exactly what we desire. But it's really us that is kind of blocking that from allowing that desire into our life. We are the ones that are really, keeping our true desires from us, because the universe is conspiring with us to get those and make those things happen. And really, I think that's why it's important for us to dive into just understanding of how the mechanics of reality is working, and to understand that it's a mirror, and to understand that it is working with us, and it's working with our beliefs and our thoughts and our definitions. And if those things are all out of balance, out of alignment, and we're coming from fear or coming from a place of worry or just a low vibration, then that's exactly what's going to be reflected back to us by our universe. And so that's just kind of a brief overview, eagle-eye view of how I kind of look at the path of least resistance. And as we go into the show, we'll dive into that more and more and discuss some of the things that I've just talked about. Scott, you want to add to what I've said?
Certainly. Absolutely. And you had touched on an idea of, the brain. The brain cannot really fathom why things have happened. It only knows that things have happened through experience. It's experienced this before, so this is going to happen again. It's a logical thing that the brain has, and essentially the key to get rid of all of that is to get into your heart, to focus all of your attention through your heart, because essentially that's going to take all the hiccup and all the struggle out of it. Because the path of least resistance. What is resistance? Resistance, in my opinion, is any thought that's not yours. Any idea that you don't have, essentially, that you didn't, like you said, conceptualize, that you didn't think of. It's something that's imposed upon you, impinged upon you, or somebody else's idea. Now, why is it good to follow the path of least resistance? Because in a sense, there's a multitude of ways that we can live our life, of course. I mean, there's so many other ways that you can live your life, but essentially to follow the path of least resistance will essentially always drive you to the next most important thing for you to learn in your life, and then the next, and then the next. And then it becomes this chain and this link and this whole long process of, you're doing the right thing without even thinking about it. And essentially, like I said, your heart is a measuring stick, if you will, to figure out what path, you're going on. Because here's a huge portion of a lot of people that don't understand. Maybe not. But the idea essentially is people think that this path I'm going down is, it's crazy. I got a news for folks. And thank you for everybody that's listening. My love and my light to you all. Thank you so much. Yes. The idea essentially is the path is not something that you're on. Never something that you're on. A path is something that you are. Because by being the path instead of being on the path, by being it, you can actually change it to what you prefer, to what's more, electrifying for your reality. And now that I touched on the idea of being electrified in a way, there's a gentleman on the planet, or used to be on the planet anyways, and now is carnated potentially into something else, Bruce Lee. I love Bruce Lee because Bruce Lee was very specific and simple, but yet was completely powerful, very, very powerful. And that was a utilized example, I suppose, of why and how following your highest excitement, following the path of least resistance will bring the biggest or the brightest portion of you out to the public, out into the rest of society. Because he said one thing that has stuck with me since I was 8 years old. And Bruce Lee said, you must flow like water. When water's in a teapot, it becomes a teapot. And essentially that's following the path of least resistance. Do you think that water is going to go into the teapot and take the shape of a block? No. It's gonna fold and mold and shift and shape into whatever it's in. Because essentially the moment that you stop and you question and you create some kind of complaint about the idea, that's when you get the resistance. That's when you get pushed back. That's when the struggle ensues, is because you're trying to force it this way. You're trying. You're in your logical brain. You're thinking that it has to happen this way because I've had experiential things that's happened to tell me that. But if you were to get out of your brain and use your heart, feel into it, it'll tell you every single time. So I definitely would think that the brain is important. Don't think that because the brain is so logical that it doesn't offer up any kind of benefits, because it does. In a sense, the brain will keep you focused in the now moment if you use it that way. Now, of course, you can get, compressed by all kinds of other things, but as long as you're here now, thinking with your heart and using your brain when it needs to be, it becomes like this pylon of connectivity. It's like a radio tower. It becomes this, this conduit, and the conduit is you, because you follow the path of least resistance.
So it sounds like you're saying, one, you don't want to have any expectations just because you think you have experienced something previously to what's happening in the current moment or in your current situation. If you set expectations, you're basically just keeping, that's a form of resistance by keeping, it only has to happen in this way when it can happen in infinite number of ways. It can unfold in infinite number. It can actually be a benefit to you in an infinite number of ways. But if you say, oh, it only needs to look this way, or it only needs to happen this certain way, you're putting up resistance to basically what is happening right in front of you, and it's almost like you're invalidating it and you're judging it by saying it has to happen this way. And when you do that, that is another form of resistance, So all that's doing is really just keeping you where you are and not letting you be that water, like you're saying. It's not letting you flow down the stream. It's when you have that resistance and you're criticizing something or judging it or having an expectation that it needs to look a certain way, it really is, you're not flowing at all. It's keeping you stuck there. It's keeping you stuck on something that really you really have no business kind of being stuck on, and not allowing yourself to flow into the moment, flow with the universe, be in alignment with your true self. And I know, a good way to keep from doing that is just learn how to appreciate yourself and appreciate kind of what is, just whatever is, whatever's going on in the world, whatever's going on in your life, in your reality in that moment. Appreciate that. And I'm not saying, just don't invalidate it. Don't judge it. Don't criticize. Because when you do that, you're just hurting yourself. Really, you're gonna fester on this condition that doesn't really matter, and you're keeping yourself from being happy or being loved or whatever it is that you really desire in your life.
Yeah, I would.
Go ahead, Scott.
I would say that if you consider, we'll call this the umbrella idea, and in effect, there's a few words in our terminology that pretty much all say the same thing. Now, they have held different definitions and different ideas in the past, but now that most of the people on the planet, collectively, the people on the planet have awoken inside themselves, not on TV, not on the newspapers, not in the news, internally, within their heart, within the fire that burns eternally within each and every one of us. We've recognized that things mean different now, because everything is really kind of neutral. But the idea in that umbrella thought, you would have, I'm going to call this the umbrella of mental barriers.
Okay.
And a mental barrier is A, judgment, B, expectation. And essentially, really anything that sees eye to eye to those topics, those are the two most, those are the biggest bullet points of that parameter of life, if you will, that, that all they do is create mental barriers. If you have expectations, it's going to create a barrier from something else. It's going to remove you from the ability to learn, grow, learn more of yourself, learn more of other people around you, learn more of your life, your reality, of your neighborhood, your school system. Who knows? I mean, the possibilities are endless.
Right.
You have to remove yourself from mental barriers that, like you said, that it has to look this way. I've experienced the sheep in this clothing so many times that, it has to be that for me to be comfortable. Well, the time is now to break out of the barriers. The time is really to shake the hand of those mental barriers, if you will, send them on their way, appreciate them for what they are, and redefine it. Redefine a mental barrier to be positive, because everything can be fundamentally neutral, but the importance is whatever definition you attach to it is whatever meaning you get from it. So now that most of the planet has awakened, the ability to change definitions is way more easier now than it was in the past. So therefore, I would say that, just as important as it is to breathe air, it is to think through your heart.
Sure.
Because that's going to erase these barriers. That's going to erase the judgments. That's going to erase you thinking that the lady's fat at the store just for no reason. I mean, how many people listen right now, and even you, Ray, maybe even myself, have been out in public and just had that snap-neck judgment, and without even thinking about it, like a subconscious judgment. Sure. And if it's that kind of judgment on that level, just think, internally with people when they're at home. So the important thing is to love yourself and to love your neighbor, and that by listening to your heart is going to show you what path that you are, what next step you need to take simply. Like, what do I need to do now? Think about it. Oh, I got to pee. Boom. You go into the restroom. Oh, I'm hungry. Boom, go and get some food. Oh, I got to go pay my rent. Go pay your rent. There's just whatever you're feeling, that action alone is connective. It's going to connect you to the next one, and to the next one, and to the next one. And it becomes there's a word that I use a lot. It's called synchronicity. Synchronicity is something that happens when it's supposed to happen without you thinking about it. And your life becomes a huge synchronicity. And the important thing to do is to not focus on anything other than the fact that you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. It's exciting because the path of least resistance is always exciting because you know for a fact that the path is you. You are it. It is you. So it can show you so many things. Just open your heart. Open your mind. Be willing. Be accepting. Be loving. Those are some keys to allow the path of least resistance, to be in that bubble of love of your heart, because none of them barriers, mental barriers or anything is going to impose upon the heart, because it's not its area. It's out of its zip code. Its zip code is upstairs in your brain. So, definitely the heart is very powerful. All of us are extremely, infinitely powerful. But until that we get out of our mind, get out of our, instinct, get out of our, logical brain, because logic essentially is, almost had its run. Because I'm here to say that the next 50 years of this planet, in a sense, is not going to seem logical by any means. And for the individual, not necessarily to be ready for it, but to allow yourself to flow with it, to not judge it, to not judge that whoever is president, to not judge whoever is behind ISIS, not to judge anything, but to embrace it. Because the moment you embrace it on that path of least resistance, it's gone. It doesn't hang around to give you hell. It doesn't hang around to give you some kind of pain or turmoil or struggle. The only time it does that is because you hold on to it physically or mentally, I shall say. You're grabbing it with your mind, whatever the thought is, because you think it still serves you. But that's only because in the past your logical brain thought it did. But now listen to your heart. It's going to glean and scream a different note, a note of harmony, a note of compassion, a note of nurturing effect. Right.
I like how you touched on, ISIS and the news and whatever. And of course, there's people who can watch the what's it called, the mainstream media, and it not bother them at all, and that's totally fine. Everything is neutral. But it's when a person, and this is an example of not following the path of least resistance, when a person is watching these things on the news and then giving their power away to it, basically. Letting it get you upset, letting yourself show judgment as invalidating, something that you're perceiving in your reality. It's happening, or you wouldn't be seeing it happening, right? It's not.
Absolutely.
It may be force-fed to you, sure, out of fear, but know yourself enough to recognize that. Know yourself enough to say, I don't prefer this, and turn off the TV. If you notice that this is causing some resistance within yourself, then do something else that you desire. You don't have to sit there and watch the news. Turn off the TV, go outside, go for a walk, go spend some time with the family, These things aren't just gonna, if you sit there and give your power away constantly to these things that really have no power, or they wouldn't be trying to control in the first place, you're just allowing them to do exactly what they want to do, and allowing the manipulation and the control that they want to have over you. And that's all you're doing by sitting there, by criticizing and judging and it, I'm not saying that you can't watch the news. I'm saying if you notice that the news is causing a problem within your vibration, with how you feel about your exterior and your inner reality, then do something about it. And that is following the path of least resistance, or being the path of least resistance, by knowing how powerful we are and exercising the choice and the free will that we have. And that's a great example. You can, we have many metaphysical and spiritual teachers who tell us a lot about how to work the path of least resistance. And me and Scott were speaking about this earlier, and there's some mantras that you can use and to help you kind of overcome if you see yourself resisting something that just is. And one of those are, there's many of them, but you can say, so what? You can say, I don't care. You can do all kinds of things to release yourself from being stuck in this resistance, or this, I keep picturing in my mind, we did a couple shows ago, we talked about allowance and just letting yourself kind of flow down the river. And I feel like, when you're resisting, you're grabbing onto, a branch, or you're getting caught on the seaweed, and you're not letting it flow. You're not letting your life and your life
branch and
flow.
The seaweed being other people's thoughts.
Right. The branch is definitely other people's thoughts. You don't want to carry other people's beliefs, because, that's just baggage. That's just weighing you down, and it's got nothing to do with you at all. Right. Another person's belief has nothing to do with you. It's good to go and experience all these things all on your own, and know who you truly are. Don't worry about what other people are doing, what other people are saying. That has nothing to do with your reality and what's going on in your world. I was listening to something the other day, and they were talking about desire, and just, we all humans have desire. We're all born with it. And we have easy access to this desire and to follow that desire. It's really only our beliefs and other people's beliefs that you're carrying them that really prevents you access from getting your preferred reality, or the desire in your life that you're actually looking for. You don't want to blame, start blaming ISIS and start blaming, for example, Donald Trump this, Donald Trump that. That's got nothing to do with what's going on in your reality. Sure, it's in your reality. Yes, it's happening. But if you know what I mean? If you put up that blame and that criticizing and just invalidating what's happening, then you're stuck in that quote unquote problem, if you will.
Right.
Going back to
I have
Einstein.
a good analogy for you.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm thinking to myself, as you're saying that, following the path of least resistance and things of that nature, one doesn't experience anything unless they put themselves in that mode anyways. One doesn't experience anything unless they've created that for themselves. What I mean is you buy a house in we'll just say a rich part of town. Just a stereotype for a second, just kind of give it a quick analogy. You buy a house in a nice part of town, a rich part of town. Got a really nice $500,000 homes. You buy that house, you don't think to yourself, and obviously, certainly, you're not going to go. I mean, it may happen, but you're not going to come out of your door and 7,000 gangbangers are going to be at your doorstep, shooting dice and drinking 40s and blaring music and so forth. You have to shift yourself, get in your vehicle, drive have that intention to go to that location and experience that. You're not going to experience something if you're not in that environment, period. Now, obviously, you can draw things towards you, no question about that, of course. But by fundamentally, you only experience what you create. So you can't create, you know, a life of CNN and bombings and everything else, and you know, worrying about Kim Kardashian and all this other stuff, and in the same breath say that, you know, that you're really connected to source and really connected to this. You may be, but you're truly not acting like it. And by not acting like it, you're going to incorporate all these things into your life. And then your life is going to start manifesting things you don't prefer. You're going to start getting, you know, things in your news feed that is correlated to that. You're going to start getting phone calls. Your friends are going to start talking about certain things. You're going to start drawing that into your reality. It's almost like you become a beacon for this thing. It's a law of attraction. You attract it to yourself. So by staying in the path of least resistance after you've gotten in touch with your own heart. You cannot have a path of least resistance unless and until you actually get in touch with your own heart and your own self. Get out of your brain, get out of your mind, get out of all the logic that you've been programmed, in a sense, or you programmed yourself, and get into the love space, get into the sacred space of the heart. Me and you, Reymond, have talked before that there's a couple of spaces in the heart. One is a sacred space, and the other one is a very silent space. And if you just focus on that thought, you don't even envision it. Just think to yourself, a quiet place. And by effect, because it's the same thought really, just a silent place is a silent place in your heart, whether you're in the middle of the woods or the closet or wherever, because your heart's with you always. It never goes nowhere. So the moment you get in touch with your heart, you have the ability to discern, to choose which path you are. Because being the path means that you can change it at any given moment. You know, at one point in my life, I had a path of conspiracy theory. You know, back when I was 18, I'm 31 years old now, but, you know, 15 years ago, I had my mind wrapped around the thought of conspiracy theory, in a sense. And it wasn't until I got into my heart, it wasn't until I understood that all that questions I was asking were creating more questions about all of it. And it wasn't until I chose the path of least resistance. Now listen, you have to choose. Like I said, I chose the path of least resistance. You have to make that choice. And the moment I chose that, the moment I started meditating, and I got flooding of answers. I mean, just whoosh. It came over me like a wave to the point where I couldn't comprehend. It took me quite some time, a year or two, to actually go through all this new teachings that I've remembered, because it's always been there. It's just my mind was in other places. And now that I took my mind out of the slot of that conspiracy mindset and shifted it into this more holistic mindset where everything is more connected, even the chemtrails are connected, everything's connected. It doesn't matter. And then you attach a positive meaning to it. And the moment that you're starting to perceive all this, it's so facto. You are on the path of least resistance, my friends, no matter what. As long as you're on that track, it's like it's like electronics in a sense. You don't think that electronics don't follow the path of least resistance? You don't think that the inventors, the people that invented the components, don't try to think, I'm going to see if we can reroute the resistors a little bit longer this way. No. They want the electricity to get to where it's got to go as fast as it could possibly go at the greatest charge.
Right, exactly.
And that's what the path of least resistance is.
I like how you keep touching on, when you follow your desire, you follow your heart, whether it be getting up to use the restroom, going to the grocery store, spending time with your family, regardless of what it is, it all, once you start following that path or being on the path of least resistance, you start to see how synchronistic all of life is. how it's all connected, how it takes you from one place to the next effortlessly, and allows that preferred reality to just manifest right before your eyes, by staying on the path of least resistance. It's when you put up the resistance and the blockage, and you're, weighing in on your beliefs or someone else's beliefs, that you can't flow that way, and you won't see the synchronicity, and you'll get stuck in this, like you said, almost like these conspiracy theories or fear-based, realities. I went through the same thing when I started awakening after 2012, and I dove headfirst into, conspiracy theories and living this fearful life and all this Illuminati and all this stuff. And I was so overwhelmed with it. I was so overwhelmed because, I grew up a Christian. I grew up, Southern Baptist Christian. My grandparents, my parents raised me. And so once this all happened to me, I was scared. I was shocked. I didn't realize what I was doing. I didn't realize I was doing it at the same time. And it's almost like, like you're saying, something just happened, and you realize that you do have to make a choice, because it's almost like we knew in our heart that everything, even then, as we were just awakening, everything was meaningless, because it's when you go down that dark path and you start to realize, well, I'm giving this power because I'm focused on it, right? I'm stuck in this fear because this is what I'm looking for. This is what I'm asking for. And all you have to do, it doesn't have to be this difficult thing. All you have to do is make the choice. And that's the yin yang, right? You've got the access to the light and the dark at all times. And all you have to do is make the choice, right? All you have to do is make the choice to go to the light, or to be the love, or just whatever that preferred reality is. You don't have to be stuck in this fear-based dark realities of Illuminati and aliens trying to take over the world, or any nonsense like that. Because that's definitely, if you give your power and your focus and your attention to those things, that's what you're going to experience. Because everything is out there for us to experience one way or another. It's all about your choice that you're making, your free will, and we need to realize that we have the power to exercise that, to say, I don't prefer this, I'm going to go in this direction. And and we're always doing that, and consciously or unconsciously, we're always doing that. Kind of picking one thing over another. We want to go this way or that way, and that's a beautiful thing. That's that's something a gift we have given ourselves, or however you want to look at that God has given us, to have this free will and these choices to make decisions about where we want to be. We're not in any type of imprisonment. We're not in any type of, this is just how it is, so you have to deal with it. It's really about what you want and what you desire, and you can make your life into really anything that you prefer. And following the path and being on the path of least resistance is one of the easiest ways to do that. And I also wanted to add that, this is something that everyone has within them. This is not something that only spiritual people have. This is not something that, only masters, quote unquote, these masters have, or anything like that. We all have the ability, we're all getting guidance. We all have access. We're all on a certain path. We all are a path. And it's important. I think it's important for me to let people know that even as we discuss these things and talk about these things with you all, we're not telling you this is what you have to do, because it's your life. You find your own way. Take the tools and the advice and the techniques that we're giving and fine tune it to make it work for you. It doesn't have to be exactly like we're saying,
right?
Because we are human as well. We are coming from our own beliefs and our own experience. And we are talking about things that, we're coming from the heart. We're we're definitely genuine on the show, and we're not going to lie to you at all. But make it so it's yours. You don't have to do exactly the tools, the way we do something. You can refine these things and make it work perfectly for you.
Right.
And it's important for us, you don't want to send. So here's an example of what I'm talking about. Let's say I'm really getting used to being on the path of least resistance in my life, and just, I'm really kind of a nonchalant guy. I let things flow. I don't really care about a whole lot. That works for me, but that doesn't mean that's going to work for Scott, or that's going to work for, a particular person listening to the show. That just works for me. And I'm fine tuning it every day, every moment I go, and of course I experience these things in my life. I experience resistance. Of course, I experience multiple conditions on a daily basis. I'm married. I have a 2-year-old. I have another baby on the way. So there's all kinds of things in my life as well that, I have to check myself at times, and I have to make sure I'm in alignment, and I don't get stuck on other people's beliefs, or stuck on even if it's one of my beliefs. I really try to step back and take a look at it and say, is this the path of least resistance? Am I really trying to make someone do something because I feel it needs to be done that way, or am I just allowing things to happen? So I think it's important for our listeners to know that, just because we're giving tools and techniques here, it fine-tune these things so that they do work for you. And it's important, just because you have something that does work for you doesn't mean that it's going to work for your neighbor or your friend or your girlfriend or your whomever.
All you need. Exactly.
Right. And the important thing, I think, is just to be yourself, and that allows others to be on the path of least resistance, or gives them the opportunity to choose that as well by being more of yourself. And don't put up, like a facade and think you have to act a certain way or anything like that.
And there's a terminology in our English language that says actions speak louder than words. And this is why. Because your actions solidify the answer and show your intention much louder than your hollow words could. Because words are just sound. That's it. They're vibrations that arrange themselves and organize themselves to create sound. That's all it is. That's why by acting on your excitement, by following the path of least resistance instead of thinking about it, it always creates that idea. And I'll give you. I was thinking to myself, what would be a good analogy to show people how much of a difference it is when you're not and when you are following the path of least resistance. Picture yourself a motorcycle. You have a Harley Davidson motorcycle sitting there, and you get on the motorcycle, and in your mind, in your logical brain, you think you're driving. You're judging this, you're judging that. But the moment you get into your heart and you start thinking about it, you have both of your hands holding on the back of the seat. You're sitting on the tandem seat, and you're balancing with your thighs. You're trying to balance the bike and try to balance life in such a way that will bend and mold for you. But if you just realize that you're in your heart, you take your hands away from your back, have that compassionate action to put your hands on the wheel of your life and start steering it in a direction that you prefer. That will always charge the path of least resistance for you. Because, I mean, it's a facade, like you said. It really, really is. And the moment that you just trust, big word, it's trust. You have to trust without any kind of evidence that it's there. You have to trust that it is there, because you have to be it before you can see it. In the same way that you walk into your bathroom mirror and you see your reflection and you're not frowning or not smiling and you're wondering why you're not doing either one of them. Like you walk into the mirror and you're frowning and you're like, why am I not smiling? Well, goofy, that's because you walked up there frowning. If you want to see a smile, be the smile. Walk up to it smiling. That's the compassionate action. And That's following your heart. That's listening to it. That's going with it. That's following that path of least resistance. Because
exactly.
you could be tripping over your own feet constantly, and the moment you resist and try to make things happen, and they don't go, and you don't go with the flow of what you've created for yourself, then you have created struggle. And until you reassess your life and get back into your heart, you will only experience struggle. That's that would be a strong point I would tell people. If you don't assess what you have already, what you have now in front of you, here and now, then tomorrow you won't know what the path of least resistance is.
Right.
But
I like how you touched on action. You know, action is synonymous with knowing. So when you know something, when you truly know it, it shows in your actions. You don't just talk about it, like you said. You don't just give off this information to people. You actually act it out. Otherwise, you don't really know it. You just say you do, and really you're putting up resistance, or you have some lack of belief there that says, you know, it's, well, you know, this might be true, but I'm not, you know, I don't really feel that way just yet. You know,
absolutely.
When it's true, when it's actually true for you, when you actually know it, you will act that way. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
I would say, I just thought right now of a good example of there's a word in our language called savant. A savant is a gifted individual who doesn't know anything other than the gift that they have. It'd be similar to like autism. You've seen videos across the web of the autistic child that gets on the piano and plays Beethoven.
Right.
When the child walks up to it, you're like, no way, maybe. I mean, it could possibly, but, and then they start playing and everybody in the audience gets chills. Everybody, it's because those chills are their higher self, God, goddess, whoever is telling that person through the feeling of the chill, like, this is real. This is true. This action will, you know, circumvent any judgment, any idea, any perspective that you had otherwise. And it completely aligns it because, I mean, there's a lot of individuals in the world that are gifted in such ways that you have. I mean, you're like, wow, no way. You're only 3 years old. How do you know how to do that? Or, you know, you're 75 years old. How are you still doing the tightrope walk? Or whatever.
Right. Sure.
I mean, I think that is intriguing to me. You know, that in itself can show folks that, you know, it doesn't matter who you are, what you are, anything can happen.
Right. Kind of, what's that saying that we have? You know, something about talk the talk or walk the walk, right?
Right.
You know, you're either talking about it,
walk the walk.
Right. Yeah. You know, show me something is really what it's about. It's about the action. It's about how you present yourself to show that, you know, you really know something, you really embody something. If you're just talking about it, then that's all you're doing is just talking about it. It doesn't mean that you are that yet. Like I said earlier, it's really about, I think you're really filtering through, you know, your beliefs or your belief of lack. And not that that's a bad thing, because, you know, we all have beliefs. We all live through our beliefs pretty much in our definitions, but so it can serve in a positive way to get you in touch with yourself and get you to know yourself so that you can get ready to take that action of basically following the path of least resistance.
Absolutely. It definitely.
So go ahead.
Pardon me, Ray. Go ahead.
I was just going to say we have about 10 minutes left. You have any closing thoughts that you want to give, or do you have something else you want to discuss?
Certainly. I would say, you know, to each and everybody who's listening right now and who shall listen in the future, I love you dearly, and I want you to realize, or just remember even, the power you contain, because the power you contain is stifling. It is so immense immense. And just think to yourself, the best day of your life. Just think about it for a second. And the best day of your life, now imagine that times 1,000,000 or times infinite. And that's the true power that you have. Like us as humans have only experienced our true nature maybe 2%. Maybe. And that's on the high end. Most of everybody on the planet are sitting on the back seat of the motorcycle, holding the sissy bar, waiting for the motorcycle to turn a certain way. You know, now not everybody has their hands on the wheel. They've given their power over. So for those that are listening right now, I want to congratulate you. Clap your hands, because if you're listening to this right now, you're driving your own car. You're driving your own life.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. From humanity, I'll speak for humanity on the behalf of humanity. Thank you. Because if it wasn't you doing that, I wouldn't be doing this. Plain and simple, period. And, you know, I stand as a beacon, as a lighthouse on the banks and the shores of misunderstanding to show folks that, you know, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. There is a light at the end of the ocean. It may be choppy. It may be rough right now, but just focus on the light. Don't focus on the ship about to capsize. That'll be fine. Trust me. You will be supported. You've been supported through the negative. You will be supported through the positive, I promise you. So, as I always say, you know, get into your heart. Think with your heart. Live through your heart, because it truly is your guiding light. It illuminates all the misunderstandings that are in the corner. They're in the cracks and the crevices of the places that you're scared to look. Even myself, I have, you know, certain beliefs that from time to time can be a bit challenging. But I know deep in my heart that the moment that I'm still, the moment that I quit asking why, and instead start asking why not, then that creates this huge opening. It's an open-ended answer. You know, you know, you can get answers from anywhere. It doesn't necessarily have to be from the internet. It doesn't have to be from your house. It could be from a tree, a bird, the way the car turns left down the road, whatever the case is for whatever you need. So listen to your heart, and it will always, always, always guide you on the path that you are. And the path that you are will only always reveal more of yourself, more aspects of yourself, more dimensional strength of yourself. Not just this singularity of the three-dimensional reality that we live in. Not in this little bubble of thought of wherever household that you're residing in at the moment. This is a time and an opportunity to band together. Like I said in the past, I come with my candlelight. You come with your candlelight ray. And we reach out to our neighbors with our hand held high so that our neighbor can see the intention and raise their candle up high and meet us halfway. Because only until we meet each other halfway, then the amplification, the continuation or the growing of this thought would become immense. Because I'm lighting their candle, they're lighting their neighbor's candle, their neighbor's lighting their neighbor's candle, then boom, 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 boom. And it becomes a spider web of love and light in all aspects and all corners of the world. And it doesn't matter if you're in Peru. It doesn't matter if you're in Cusco. It doesn't matter if you're in Greece or, I don't know, Germany. I don't care where you are. Because your heart is everywhere.
Right.
So just know, everybody, I love you dearly. And thank you for being so beautiful.
Yes, thank you, Scott. So, and I just want to reiterate what Scott just said. You know, follow your heart for sure. Our desire, our true desire is coming from our heart, and basically a message from your angels, from your guide, from God, however you want to look at it. Listen to your heart, listen to your desire, follow that desire, because that is the path of least resistance. You know, we are being shown the way to go, the easiest way for us to adapt and evolve. We are being shown that way. And yeah, there is resistance being built up, around the world as kind of light workers unite, like Scott is saying, as we light each other's candles. But we're winning, people. We are winning, or we wouldn't be here in the first place. We'd probably be gone by now. So I just want to reassure everyone, there's nothing to fear. Take a look at yourself. Realize that all beliefs are just beliefs, and they can be changed. It's just a belief. It doesn't mean that's who you are or that's what you have to be, and that's what you have to do. It's just a belief. Obviously, 7 billion people on the planet, we all have our own beliefs. So it's obvious that there's not just one, and there's not just one way to do a certain thing. That's pretty obvious if you've lived your life, for so many years. You can figure that out. So follow your heart, follow your desire, be the path of least resistance. Just allow things to happen as they come into your life. You don't need to put up resistance or a block or anything like that. Know that the universe is on your side and working together with you to give you that preferred reality that you're really looking for. It is trying to get that to you. So just allow those things to come into your life and stop putting up, the resistance. And I want to thank everyone for listening in today. I love you all as well. Thank you for the co-creation of the show, the co-creation of life in general. I appreciate you all. You've been listening to Conscious Contact Radio. Oh, and also I'd like to add, we also now have a YouTube channel for all you YouTubers, and that can be found at Conscious Contact Radio at youtube.com. And Scott, do you want to tell them how they can reach out to you?
Absolutely. If anybody has any questions, they can certainly reach us at consciouscontact88@gmail.com. If you have any questions in correlation to the show. Also, I've also created a YouTube channel for myself as well. I have probably 20 videos or so, and all kinds of different ideas that, dovetail into essentially what we've been talking about today. You can find me on YouTube at Scott Mendoza, SCOTTMENDOZA, and I have several videos there. Hopefully more to come.
Yes, definitely go check out Scott and his videos. Definitely light up your heart, light up your life. Some definitely good inspirational videos, and definitely some good tools and techniques that you can apply in your everyday life there that Scott is so kind to share with us. Yes. And it sounds like we're wrapping up here. So you've been listening to Conscious Contact Radio. Thank you, everyone, for participating and listening in. And we will see you next week. Have a great day, and we love you all very much.
Love you.
Bye.
Big news! The new Sprint LTE Plus network is faster than Verizon and AT&T based on analysis of a recent study by Nielsen. And to celebrate, we're inviting you to join Sprint for the biggest offer in U.S. wireless history. Switch to Sprint and save 50% on most Verizon, AT&T, or T-Mobile rates. Yep, you heard that right. No gimmicks.